This is the Breathing Room, sponsored by BluZone Health. We are here to empower anyone on their journey to cardiorespiratory health to breathe better and live your best life.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Sheldon, and I am an exercise physiologist. I've been in this field for about a year and a half now, just graduated with my master's, and I'm excited to teach everyone a little bit about pulmonary health and help them along their health journey.
Hi there, I'm Gina Hoots. I'm a respiratory therapist, health coach. I've been a respiratory therapist for 35 years this fall, and one of my favorite things to do is pulmonary function testing. In that world, I learned how to be a health coach, and so now I'm learning to be health coaching. Two hats that I'm wearing right now. I'm president-elect of the Illinois Society for Respiratory Care, and I am a captain for the COPD Foundation in Central and Southern Illinois.
Okay, hi, I'm Kelly Lewis. I've been a registered respiratory therapist for 40 years. I've worked in pulmonary rehab, telehealth, all over the hospital, and I'm happy to be here.
How did you get hooked up with BluZone Health?
I got hooked up with BluZone Health by actually meeting the founder, Matt Young, who is our respiratory therapist, who invited me to join the team as a co-founder and also the president of clinical development, doing all of our exercise programs for our pulmonary patients.
And I found BluZone Health. Well, I should say BluZone Health found me through Gina. Gina found me on LinkedIn and wanted to ask about some COPD program and ended up introducing me to Matt Young. And so here we are, the three of us, your breathing room gals.
I too got to BluZone through Matt Young. He was uh, doing what he does best, educating in a patient support group, the Right to Breathe support group, and he was talking about needing health coaches for his virtual pulmonary rehab program. Well, here I am over here, health coach needing virtual pulmonary rehab. So the rest has been history. So I've been really pleased with the collaboration we've been building this year.
Perfect. Just quickly, do you two have any new things that are happening in the pulmonary world? Any kind of health news that's going on recently?
It's COPD month.
It is COPD month.
It is COPD month. November 20th, I think, is World COPD Day. There's the smoke-free USA going on in November, and all about COPD, how to live with it and how to prevent it.
There was many years ago on Quit Smoking Day. It has a name. I can't remember. It's Smoke Enders Day. Anyway, no smoking day. We had shirts made for our pulmonary rehab team. And so on the front, it said, November 20 or whatever day, is Quit Smoking Day. And on the back, it had a quote that said, "If we see you smoking, we will assume you are on fire and we will take appropriate measures."
I love
Very
that.
cute.
Everybody got such a kick out of that shirt. I kept it, fell apart in the wash. But anyway, I should get another one made. So, but yes, it is COPD month. We do have World COPD Day coming up. For today's episode, we wanted to talk about the internet and social media, and we wanted to talk about patients helping each other out with some home remedies, if you will. And I don't try to spend a lot of time on Facebook, but sometimes I just can't help myself but jump in when I see somebody recommending some particular home remedies for COPD or asthma or ILD that just go against everything I've ever learned and practiced in 40 years. Gina, how about you?
Oh my gosh, those Facebook groups do cause quite a challenge for some of us respiratory therapists who want to help guide the right information, but you just can't keep up with the misinformation out there.
Amy, how about you?
It is really valuable to hear from other pulmonary patients, especially as somebody who may have been recently diagnosed with a pulmonary condition. But at the same time, there are some things that some of our patients can do from home and use as advice for other people where you kind of sit back and go, well, that's not quite right. Or, you definitely need to talk to your pulmonologist before you try anything like that. So sometimes, stuff does work for some people, but it's all about making sure that you get it signed off with your doctor and that it's something that would actually be right for you.
And sometimes I notice, in the beginning when Facebook and these groups first started up, it was, I'd get in the groups, people would ask a question, or I'd, correct some misinformation. Now there's so many groups and so many people with so many ideas, it's kind of hard to keep up. So I'm glad we're doing this topic, because in one of the groups, someone was saying that their pediatric pulmonologist had recommended nebulizing essential oils.
Mm.
So we can tell people go to a doctor and they'll say, well, I did go to the doctor. He recommended to do this. But that's one of the things. One of the things that I gathered together was things that people nebulize that you probably shouldn't. So essential
Oh
oils
no.
is one of them. I'd heard of thieves oil. I can't remember who makes it, but it's a blend of certain essential oils. And I guess people are nebulizing that with all kinds of things. It's very thick, so they've cut it with things like hydrogen peroxide or vodka or rubbing alcohol or tap water. And as I'm reading this, I'm just getting more and more mortified by the things that people nebulize. So I just want to put out there a blanket statement. If it didn't come from the pharmacy, please don't nebulize it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Wow. A lot of those things are just harmful to the lungs if you think about respiratory physiology. So when you breathe, your lungs are designed to have air and nothing else, oxygen, nitrogen, and a little bit of other things. If you inhale oil, even if it's a fine mist, you're still inhaling oil across your lungs. And that interferes with gas exchange. You can't get oxygen in. So that could really cause some downstream impacts. What do you think, Amy?
You know, if your doctor has ever recommended to do that, to add essential oils or anything that didn't come from the pharmacy into a nebulizer treatment, you probably need to find a new pulmonologist. But I also think that a lot of the essential oils and stuff may not be controlled by the FDA or anything like that. And so when you get stuff that's over the counter that is not being fully monitored, you never know what may be in it, what other products may be kind of mingled in with that. And so you want to be really careful with what you're inhaling, especially if it's not coming from a pharmacy.
And I wonder sometimes if maybe the doctor was saying humidifier, like they have those, what do you call those? Aromatherapy
Hmm.
humidifier. Maybe he was saying, put some tea tree oil in there or some eucalyptus oil, which is really kind of an irritant and allergen. But, maybe he meant humidifier. Maybe he used the word mister, and
Hmm.
the patient thought, well, I've got a nebulizer, so I'll just put it in there. Communication, right? Definitely making sure. But here's a little list of things that people were nebulizing. So hydrogen peroxide, apple cider vinegar, essential oils, vodka, colloidal silver, rubbing alcohol, tap water, turmeric, albuterol with some apple juice in there to make it taste better. And a couple of patients had asked their therapist in the hospital, could they add a little bit of crystal meth to their neb because that
Mm.
helped them breathe better. Yeah. And the therapists are going, no, don't really have time to run out and see your dealer right now to get that. But the just amusing what people think help their breathing. And then one lady who was putting bleach in her face steamer.
Even just general cleaning tips for the elderly. I think bleach has been a very large part of general cleaning uh, for much of the time, and it's associated with pureness and getting rid of the germs. But in this case, in your lungs, really would scar and burn your lungs with that baby soft tissue in there.
And anything else too. I mean, we have, our grandparents cleaned with vinegar and bleach, but still the fumes from those are really, really strong. And now you walk into the grocery store or wherever, and you've got 1,000 cleaning products to choose from, and they're all got a certain scent. They're very irritating. It says right on the label, irritant to eyes and lungs. And even if you choose something like Simple Green, it's not so simple. It's very irritating. So just be careful of fumes in any form.
Well, and if you think about it, especially in a healthcare setting, we use bleach wipes all the time, right? When we're cleaning different equipment, but you're supposed to wear gloves with it. So when you think about it, you're like, well, if I'm supposed to wear gloves when I'm using bleach wipes, why on earth would I nebulize it and breathe in the bleach?
It's a good point. Most definitely. So anyway, that's my long list of nebulized stuff. Do you guys have anything else that your patients have told you at some point that they took to try to help their breathing?
I've been finding different ways to take your inhaled medicines. Now,
Oh,
we all know that an inhaler that shoots that at you with the spacers, the optimal way to take an inhaler. Sometimes you might hear somebody using a toilet paper roll. You know, that might be okay. So there are innovative ways to take inhalers, and you want to think about the reasons why. I really wish I would have bought my toys, but I needed an Ellipta inhaler, which is a dry powder inhaler. You open the top, click it, and then big deep breath in to get the particles in, and then hold your breath for 10 seconds. Well, I saw one with a straw stuck in it because it was easier to take it. So they are putting it in that way. And so while they felt like they were getting more particles in, did the particles land in the right spot to do the right amount of good? I don't know that. So shout out to my clinical coordinator, Sarah, who's going to try that at home with her own personal supply. So we're going to do an off the label experiment with that with a respiratory therapist. But no, it's probably not a spacer that way, or they would have designed it that way. So please use the equipment the way it's designed. Um, if you don't know, your pharmacist should know, your doctor should know, nurses in the office, reach out to somebody, preferably a respiratory therapist if you have one around.
Amy, how about you?
So one of the things that I found on social media, I very much like the idea of trying to do things at home, lifestyle changes to really help improve your overall health. But one thing I did find is that some people tend to try to completely replace treatment from a doctor and different medications with home remedies, which for some people with, maybe the beginning stages of COPD, maybe that's okay. But they tend to use it as a blanket statement. One of the things I saw recently was the detox teas, which they have a lot of ingredients within them which can be really helpful. But one of the things that I notice is, people will say use them 3 or 4 times a day, and it'll really just clear out your lungs. You won't have any more breathing problems. But for one, that may not be true for everybody. It depends on kind of what stage they are and what extra help that they might need from a pulmonologist and from different medications. But the other thing is that overuse of different things like detox teas cannot or may not necessarily be good for you. I know that they can lead to dehydration. You're trying to detox your body, so you end up getting rid of a lot of like your electrolytes and a lot of your fluids, and you are flushing your system, which can maybe be helpful sometimes. I don't know how much research has really been done on the full effects of using those regularly, especially that many times a day. But they can also raise your heart rate and blood pressure. They can cause some, dehydration, electrolyte balances, but also they can cause some anxiety just because of some different things that may be in the teas, like stimulants, or because of that dehydration feeling. It can cause some discomfort and anxieties. So while home remedies can be great and they can be helpful for some people, definitely would recommend doing your research, talking to your doctor about that, and not just stopping all medication or refusing to go to the doctor to manage your condition.
That kind of leads me to the next thing, which is herbs. People maybe take the medications that their doctors prescribe, and at the same time, they're taking all these over-the-counter or crazy herbs that they find. And teas, like detox teas, all those are herbs that you got wet with hot water. So you're still taking these herbs, and you don't know how they interact with your medications. Another herb, if you will, that's very popular has been cannabis and also CBD, which are two different things. So cannabis has THC in it, which is the psycho compound, and CBD does not have any psychoactive compound in it. But there's a lot of CBD. I forget the guy's name who did all the cannabis. I want to say Rick Steves, but he's the Europe guy.
Rick, I'll know in a minute.
RSO, Rick somebody or other. Anyway, but he swears that, this marijuana, he has something called FECO, which is full extract cannabis oil. And people are taking this full extract cannabis oil and putting it in pills, like they're buying those empty vegetarian capsules. And they say all you need is a drop like the size of a head of a pin, and they're putting it in there, and then they're taking that, or they're putting it in there and then they're using that as a suppository. And so when you do that, what happens is all of that goes systemic. It's running through your entire system. And when it does that, your whole body takes it up. Are you trying to treat the lungs, or what are you trying to do? So I don't know anything about it. I don't recommend it. I don't know what it interacts with what people are taking. So just saying that about herbs. And then the other thing, what was the other thing? That you were talking, Amy, about the detox teas several times a day. Like, what are you trying to detox from? Stop adding that to your system. And maybe if it's something that you've been ingesting a long, long time or chronically, you can't detox from it anymore. It's already done what it's going to do. So, but I know a lot of people who have been dehydrated, totally dehydrated from drinking those detox teas. And hydration, if you have COPD or a lot of secretions, that's the thing you need is water.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've been seeing something about blowing up balloons daily. Has anybody seen that kind of trend? It's not really a TikTok trend I'm not on TikTok. I don't allow myself. It's just too much uh, temptation for me. But yeah, what's that? What's up with blowing up the balloons, Kelly?
So the thing with blowing up the balloons is, well, two things. But first of all, there's some inspiratory trainers out there. So when you're blowing up balloons, that's an expiratory maneuver. And there are some expiratory trainers as well that kind of help you mimic pursed lip breathing. You're trying to prolong that expiratory phase and get the carbon dioxide out. But if you have really bad emphysema or damaged lungs from COPD and you try and blow up a balloon that's too hard to blow up, that back pressure has to go somewhere and you could really damage your lungs. You might blow just a couple of blebs, blow a few alveoli. You may or may not feel it, but if you blow a pneumothorax, I promise you will feel it. So I really do not recommend blowing up balloons. Have your doctor get you an expiratory trainer, and it's very different from those inspiratory incentive spirometers. That's a different thing altogether. And the question comes up, and I'll ask you guys, a lot of COPD patients, do they need an incentive spirometer? Do they need help taking a deep breath? They need
That's a
help
whole podcast.
exhaling, right?
That's
They
a whole
get the
podcast.
air in,
Yeah.
they can't get the air out. Now, if you have ILD, could you use it? Yeah, that might slow you down if you were taught to use it correctly. But I don't know. Amy, what's your take on that?
I would just be careful of using any sort of device that hasn't been recommended by either your pulmonologist or your respiratory therapist. I've seen several different kinds on social media actually, where they exaggerate different things. I've seen one that said, "Oh, this is what lungs look like after 1 year of vaping," and it looks like lungs of somebody who's been smoking for about 30 years, and it's like, "Oh, well, you don't want your lungs to look like this. Use our device." But of course, it's something that's not FDA approved. That may not work for everybody. So I've seen a few like that on social media saying, "Oh, we'll use this and it'll fix all your problems." I'd be really careful about any sort of device that hasn't been, recommended by a pulmonologist or a respiratory therapist for sure. Because there's lots of them out there, and they definitely don't all do the same thing.
They don't, and they can do a lot of damage. All right. So next week, what are we going to talk about next week?
Thank you so much, everybody, for a great podcast. Christmas is right around the corner. What do you think about doing a Christmas wish list next time?
I think that would be awesome. I look forward to next week's meeting and discussing Christmas presents for our pulmonary patients, the do's and don'ts.
Thanks for joining us. We will see you on the next episode of Breathing Room.